Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon Podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
It's 2025 and insurance just keeps getting worse. I just did 2 bilateral deeps and 2 bilateral tissue expanders for patients. And I've never had this happen before, but during the second deep, I got a phone call into the operating room saying that United Healthcare wanted me to call them about one of the patients who was having surgery today, who was actually asleep having surgery. And, said I had to call right now. So I scrubbed out of my case and I called United Healthcare. And the gentleman said he needed some information about her, wanted to know her diagnosis and whether her inpatient stay should be justified. And I was like, do you understand that she's asleep right now? And she has breast cancer. And the gentleman said, actually, I don't. That's a different department that would know that information. And I was like, well, she does need to stay overnight tonight. And you have all the information with you because I got approval for this surgery. And I need to go back and be with my patient now. But yeah, it's out of control. Insurance is out of control. I have no other words.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon Podcast. Our guest today, Robert Mennella, founder of Equity Research and author of the best-selling book, Heavily Redacted, The JP Morgan Whistleblower's Journey. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Rocco.
Nice to be back. Nice to have you back. Friend of the show, I think third or fourth time around coming back.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, New Jersey, the center of the universe at the moment, dominating the news feeds, dominating Twitter, Facebook, mainstream media, wherever you look. First of all, the killing of what is it? United Healthcare Brian Thompson by Luigi Mangion. And me and you spoke a bit offline about it, and I said, you said we should hash this out. We should, because I think we've got two separate viewpoints, and I think we can go either way. So let's get stuck into it. You have a vigilante killer sort of roaming Gotham, and he killed a prominent person in the healthcare industry. And not that that's something new, but what was new is the outpouring of support from the citizens, right? From the people of the greatest New York area, New Jersey area.
Right.
And that was kind of weird to me. And so what do you think, what's brought us to this point where we're seeing this guy basically heralded as a hero? I mean, the people that turned out to his when he was arrested and his hearing, it was mental.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, people get murdered all the time in New York City, right? But,
I'm gonna laugh, but yeah,
nobody talks about who the victim is or who the perpetrator is. There's a lot of gang murders. We have a lot of immigrant crimes that go on in the worst neighborhoods. But what made this kind of unique was the situation between the killer and the victim, right? So the killer had some back surgery,
yes,
and was not getting any what he thought was proper care after the surgery. And I believe he wasn't even a United Healthcare member. But that didn't matter because he killed the CEO of United Healthcare because, and this happened directly after a lawsuit was filed on behalf of 2 deceased patients who were denied aftercare after a procedure that they had done. And so Luigi Mangion decided that he was going to, take out his vengeance on, I guess any healthcare CEO, and I guess the one he could track and have the greatest opportunity to, assassinate was Brian Thompson. And my understanding is that he's a very smart guy. His family is very wealthy.
Rich. Yeah.
This wasn't some
Ivy
like
League. Sorry,
lunatic.
Ivy League education. It's
Right.
not some guy from the street.
Right. By all accounts, anybody you talk to that knew him say
Mhm.
he's a great guy, friendly guy. But you don't really know what's going on inside people's heads,
Mm. Mm.
and what motivates them to take action from their anger. And so in this situation, he decided that basically he would throw his life away
Yeah.
in order to stand for something.
To prove a
And
point.
I think a lot of the support for Luigi Mangione comes from the fact that for a very long period of time, we've been desensitized to violence.
Mhm.
Hollywood glorifies violence, video games glorify violence. And so, when that translates from, a fantasy crosses over into a reality, it's not that difficult for people who are motivated to do something. And the amount of support that he's gotten from, I think about 39% of the people that were interviewed believe that he was justified in doing this. So that's kind of like a sad state of affair because yes, Brian Thompson was a human being, but
With
people
a
are saying
family. With a
with a
family.
family, wife and kids.
Mm.
But he also oversaw a company in which they make life and death decisions of their members. And my understanding in this case, it was an algorithm that had been used to deny claims to people who were less fortunate or they felt didn't have the will to appeal decisions for denials. And so that in and of itself is a horrible thing, to leave it up to an algorithm or attorneys to make medical decisions for you.
Yeah.
I think your medical decisions should be made by your doctor and you and no one else.
Yeah.
And this is kind of exacerbated by the state of our healthcare system. The Affordable Care Act did a lot for a lot of people and made healthcare affordable. But we're the richest country in the world, and we're the only ones that don't have free healthcare. And if you listen to Bernie Sanders, Medicaid for all would solve all of this. But what it also would do is it would put a lot of the healthcare companies and insurance companies
out of business.
out of business. Yeah, it would mean that pharmaceutical companies would make less money. So if you think about as an analogy, if we had an energy source that was free, that everybody could use, that you didn't have to pay for, what would happen to oil and gas companies? What would happen to their employees? They'd go out of business. But it would benefit more people on the lower half of the 99%, and it would hurt the people on the the upper 1%. So you don't have a lot of sympathy for the 1%ers, when they're controlling 95% of the country's wealth. Another interesting thing.
Go again.
I was going to say another interesting thing about the perp walk that they did when they flew him in on a helicopter. And they had military guys there with long guns, and Mayor Eric Adams in the background. I think that just boosted his appeal.
His aura, right? His aura. Because it's Hollywood. It's what you just said. It's a movie. This isn't real life. It's a movie.
Right. But if you saw that scene, it looked like a movie.
Yeah.
And Eric Adams is a bit of a hypocrite himself because he's already been indicted for bribery and corruption and everything else. So I think it was a poor attempt to distract the public away from his crimes. and
I'm
on
with you.
to Luigi Mangione. But I think it backfired on him, and ultimately, I think it may actually get him off,
Yeah.
because if you can find a jury that says he can't get a fair trial because of this stunt, then you really just have to have one person that dissents in a jury, and you got a mistrial, and you're back to the drawing board.
It's going to
So
be so hard because healthcare is such an emotional issue, especially when there are children involved, and children are being denied healthcare.
right.
If there's a mother or father in the stand, they might have sympathy with him. This uprising against capitalism reminds me of what we
Sure.
saw, Occupy Wall Street movement, and so that's going to be something. Justice has to take its course, but I don't see how it can, because it's such an emotional issue. But we're going to see. Do you think CEOs are going to look over their shoulder now when they step onto the street?
Well, right after the shooting, there was reports of CEOs, beefing up on security and buying bulletproof, glass cars or whatever, because they were afraid.
Yeah.
They were afraid about, or maybe they felt guilty about what
Yeah.
they had done in the past,
Yes.
to the writ public at large. So I've always said that the capitalistic system should be built around stakeholders and not just shareholders. So a stakeholder would be someone that not necessarily owns any stock or is a proponent of the company, but maybe someone that lives in the community of where a large corporation may be operating.
Yeah.
And so, that company would have some sort of obligation towards making sure that there's, good education system in place in where they're doing business, and where, because a lot of these big corporations, they get huge tax breaks just to move into their area. So essentially, they don't pay any taxes at all. They get these tax abatements, but they promise to hire people and so forth, and many times they don't hire as many people as they say they're going to hire. And so anybody that's been related to someone who's been denied a claim, people are talking about this all over social media. I mean, I saw one post where there was this 17-year-old girl who was looking for a liver transplant, and the healthcare company had denied her. She had leukemia and needed a liver transplant, but because the parents went online and made such a big stink over the denial, the healthcare company caved in, and they said, "Okay, we'll approve the liver transplant," but she died 2 days before she was going to get that transplant, so it came too late. So
Robert,
you can't.
that needs to be in the hands of the doctor, not in a third party who decides who lives and who dies. That's not right. And I'm not saying look, I'm totally against vigilante killings, right? Because it's cool and all, and we're all on board until it happens to your family. I'm not saying me and you are doing anything wrong, but I'm just saying until it hits home and someone you love or someone you know gets killed. Yes, there might be a bad person, or not. Or it might just be that guy thought in his head this is the right thing to do, and the public says, this is the narrative and we're going forward. We can't have that stuff going on. We need to stop that. Hopefully this was like, okay, message received, we need to do something about it, but let's move on.
I don't think we want to encourage it, but unfortunately, every time you turn on a Netflix movie, it's a vigilante movie about some guy's daughter who has been raped or killed, and there's a technicality where they get off, and then the father takes matters into his own hands. There's lots of videos,
but as any father or any parent would do.
Right.
That's the thing. There's a
It's
grain of
emotional.
exactly. There's a grain of truth in here where
Yeah.
when it's that emotional of an issue, right? People tend to not be as pragmatic in the moment as maybe they should, and after the fact, maybe it's like, maybe we shouldn't have. You know what? But it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think this is going to slow down. I really think
No.
that this is going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of aggravated people out there who might be on the edge, and the
Yes.
fact that our healthcare system isn't the best, and more importantly, our mental health care
Mm.
system is even worse.
Mm.
There's a lack of therapists. There's a lack of empathy for people that have mental health issues. And a lot of times we just look at them and we just say, "Oh, they're crazy," and let's just lock
Yeah.
them up.
Yeah.
You know, but if that's your sister, or your brother, or your son, your daughter, you have a different perspective on mental health.
No,
Uh,
absolutely.
and so, it's interesting that I'm a member of United Healthcare, and earlier this year, beginning of the year, after the shooting,
Mm-hmm.
I got a letter saying they were expanding their mental health services.
Mm.
So I
I
thought that was
wonder why.
interesting.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
Yeah,
tied
we
to
don't
that.
know. Allegedly, we don't know. I don't want to
Yeah,
put that narrative out there.
yeah, we don't know, but
Yeah.
at least it's a step in the right direction,
Yes.
because you can't just drive around in a bulletproof car. You've got to
Yeah.
actually make concrete changes for your customers, and they have to see that you're doing something, and not just it's just business as usual.
Okay, let's
So
pivot. Let's pivot, but staying on mental health
yeah.
in a way, because it seems like it's something that is affecting people's mental health. When the government gaslights you and saying the things you see in the sky aren't there, or it's a plane,
Mhm.
it's recreational drones, it's helicopters, etc. There's nothing to worry about, right? And then, but
Yeah.
some fears of government say, "Oh, it's not ours. It's not a foreign enemy. We don't know what it is." And then there are so many narratives, right? But I mean, you are there, right? You are
Yeah.
in it, and you've shared with me offline. You shared with me instances of stuff that you've seen. Tell the listeners,
Mhm.
what have you seen?
Yeah. Well, I personally saw a drone
Mm-hmm.
flying over an ExxonMobil research facility. It's just near my house. It's like one of those
How big?
military drones,
How big?
size of a small plane. But is the kind of drones that you see, in the battlefield in Ukraine.
Yeah,
The bigger ones,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
at first I didn't know what it was, so I thought it was a bird. So I pulled over to the side of the road so I could get a better look.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I was able to say, "Holy, that is a drone that
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, on
And
TV."
it's not aliens, right? It's not like from outer
No,
space or anything. It's a drone.
it
It's
looked
man.
like it looked like a military drone, something that
Okay,
they
yeah,
would
but let's
use for
let's
surveillance, or to deliver a bomb or whatever. But that's what it looked like to me. The
exactly.
big
So
head in the front.
yes, so it's man-made. It's someone's tech, right? So it's
The one that I
either
saw. Yeah.
yeah, well, the one that you saw. I will get to the other stuff because there are those orbs being seen as well. I've got an orb story, but it's either the Americans, it's either private contractors or like some special project, or it's China, and either one is equally, if
Yeah.
equ-
Equally scary.
equally scary, right? Because those things reportedly can stay in the air for a very long time. They are doing things that are beyond our understanding and realm of the technology available. Why do you feel scared at all seeing these things in the sky?
There is a hysteria that is
Mm,
building in the area, and when it first started happening, of course your imagination is going to run wild, and
Yes.
right away it's an alien invasion, or you don't know what it is. But I think it's actually a combination of a number of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's one specific thing. So I think some of them may be manned aircraft. Some of them may be autonomous drones
Mm-hmm.
that could have come from the eastern seaboard, and New Jersey is very close. I mean, we're on the Jersey Shore.
Yes. Yes.
So if an enemy like China or Russia wanted to launch an army of drones from a submarine, it wouldn't be that hard to do, right? They could be in international waters and not be violating any international law. The fact that a lot of these drones were flying over military installations also makes me wonder if it was a reconnaissance mission to seek out our vulnerabilities. They were also flying over the reservoir that's a couple miles away from my house. And so maybe it was a message that, hey, stop messing with us, or
we could if we wanted to.
Right. We could do something, if we wanted to.
Yeah.
Because look, we can just fly over your reservoirs and your military installations, and it's all good. But then the military created a no-fly zones over most of New Jersey for drones.
Okay.
So drones were, they were grounded, both private drones, and I guess the thinking there was that if you ground all the the amateur controlled drones, that anything up there is unauthorized and therefore is subject to being shot down.
Okay. How they? But did that work or?
Well, I haven't seen any other drones since then, so it may have worked. It may have not. But I will tell you that my daughter did capture some very interesting video of something that is definitely not explainable. It was an orb at first, flashing different colors.
Okay.
And then if you look at the video, like if you go slow motion, frame by frame, it's shape shifting into different shapes. First it's a star, and then it's a triangle, and then it's a box, and it's jumping around all over the place. And I don't know if that's something that, maybe we reverse engineered from some of the old alien crashes, and we're it's a psyop where, we're trying to scare the public, believing that the government is, there to help us and not hurt us. So I really don't know. I have more questions than answers, to be honest with you.
The whole psyop narrative became really strong with this, what happened in New Orleans and Las Vegas. Because I think it was the one in New Orleans, the retired military guy, the Tesla bomber, basically supposedly left a letter saying, these are Chinese anti-gravitational tech or whatever, and it's like, it just sounded too like.
It sounds fantastical.
On the nose. It's a bit on the nose. It's like, is this the basically sounds like the government is preparing people to go to war, basically. That's what it sounds like to me. Again, I don't have any proof, but I'm just saying it sounds too good to be true. Like, that whole scenario. And by the way, this whole drone thing isn't just now. It goes on, at least as far as I can tell, even for 5 years, dating back 5 years, there's been sightings of drones and flying objects in the New Jersey area. Were you aware of that?
I wasn't aware that stuff was going on before this just happened.
Jeez. Okay.
If it was, I mean, I know there's There's been sightings, of
Yes.
unidentified aircraft near the Jersey Shore. It's been sporadic,
Yes.
but it picked up a lot, when the drones started coming. So I'm really not 100% sure what it is.
Mm,
And, nobody likes uncertainty.
no.
The government really didn't do much to help us understand what was going on. So they were no help. So,
But it's funny because it's funny the way that it sort of peaked, plateaued, and then it just came back down.
yeah,
And to me, I find stuff like that strange, right? Do you have that video that you can send it to me, and we can sort of upload it
yeah,
with this podcast, and people can sort of
yeah,
check
definitely.
for themselves. But I've got a story where, and I've shared this on social media in
Oh, yeah.
in type form, but or in written form. I was 21, 22 years old, and my wife, and I went and walked in the bush. It's a town called Messina. It is about 500 kilometers where I live, right on the Zimbabwe border, and there's nothing. It's just bush. It is bush. It's like an isolated area, right? And we were walking late afternoon, and we were just going back to the farmhouse, and both of us sort of looked up, and there was this orb in the sky, but it was like high up in the sky. It was sort of like where a plane would be, but it was
Right.
stationary, and it was glowing, so doing this. And so I thought, satellite maybe, if shooting star, so your brain goes whatever. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden that thing started moving faster than anything I've ever seen, and it just went for like a couple of seconds, and it disappeared.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
never spoke about that ever again. And like I said in my post, is I didn't want to be the person that said, I saw, because it used to be UFO, unidentified flying object, right? And then they said, no, it's UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. So whatever it is for me, because I think they are scared when people say UFO, aliens. I'm just saying it's something that I don't know what it was. I've never seen, because afterwards you think, no, maybe it's this, or maybe, and it's like, no, but it can't be, because nothing acts and behaves that way. And to this day, I think about what it is that I saw, and we'll probably never have the answer to these questions.
Yeah. No, I think we'll have the answers. I think that,
Oh, do you think so?
I think it's coming soon.
Do you think it's
I think
coming?
I think it's been going on for a long time, and I
Yes.
think that to think that we're the only beings in a entire universe with a trillion planets is kind of naive.
It's
Uh,
narcissistic, to be quite honest. It's quite
it's
narcissistic
narcissistic.
to think,
Yeah.
we are the only people.
Right. So, I mean, if the conditions exist for us to, come to being, then certainly the odds are pretty good that the conditions could exist for another civilization to come into being, possibly millions of years before we came.
Okay.
So it could be an advanced civilizations, living, or as some people have postulated, it could be us from the future.
Future. So many
That are
permutations. Yeah.
they're time traveling back in time to warn us to not ruin the planet with nuclear weapons, or the things that we do to harm the planet. And a lot of people have said that there are underwater bases in which these civilizations exist, along with the military's acknowledgement. And up until like a couple of years ago, they found this huge Middle Earth area that they didn't know of before, in which in between a couple of the crusts of the Earth was this huge hollowed out area that had never been discovered before, and maybe they live there.
Yeah.
and maybe they have big giant eyes because there's no sunlight down,
We don't know.
So I mean, some of this stuff sounds crazy, but at the end of the day, maybe it's not so crazy after all, because you have to keep an open mind.
Yes.
When it comes to this kind of stuff.
And like I said, who knows? Like, just because there's no evidence now doesn't mean that there will be in the future. I mean, Earth is so old, and we're discovering new things every year. And man, let's just keep an open mind about these things, and stay safe in New Jersey, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. So don't do anything bad. I'm sure you'll be okay. Robert, thank you so much for joining me today. The discussion into American healthcare and sort of the anti-capitalistic movement and Luigi Mangion and UAPs were, for me, extremely fascinating, and I hope the listeners enjoyed it as well. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and find out more about what it is that you do, where can they do that?
Yeah, well, you can look me up on LinkedIn right there, my name on LinkedIn. It's the best place to find me. And, I'll have all of my posts and my opinions and breaking news and technical analysis. And I cover a lot of stuff because I try to mix it up and just keep it interesting.
Awesome. And we put all the links in the comments. And to all listeners, peace, love, and prosperity.
A blacked out skyline over New Jersey's shoulders. Aliens watching from the stars. We send out signals, but they go too far. Are they saving us or pulling strings? In the Garden State, no one knows a thing. Fractured skies, answers fading, static lies. Can you feel it? The pulse of control, a state of decay swallowing us whole. Drones in the dark, silent in flight. Alien whispers in the night. Healthcare's a game. We pay the cost in New Jersey's glow. Humanity lost. Signals crossing through the haze. Unseen forces guide our days. Steering time, we're losing the fight under New Jersey's haunted light. Silent void, haunted light. They're watching. Ambulance sirens harmonize with drones mapping out the skies. Who's healing us? Who's keeping score? Who owns the cure and what's it for? Abduction theories, glowing spheres, a state of fear for countless years. New Jersey streets, a cold battleground. No one listens, but they hear every sound. Black vans parked by the shore, knocks on doors we can't ignore. Insurance scams, pills to take, but the truth's the bitterest pill to fake. Alien lights above the trees, whispers carried on toxic breeze. In the Garden State, we're losing control. Our future sold piece by piece, soul by soul.